Well, greetings everybody, and welcome to a new edition of the weekly show we call the Inworld Review. When we say Inworld, we're referring to the Hypergrid, which is a system that allows virtual worlds to communicate with each other. In other words, you can take assets you've got on one world to another world, and you can talk to people across worlds and text them and all sorts of things. Each world you can imagine is something like, for example, the original world's Second Life, where Second Life is still going, by the way. It's got its anniversary at the moment, 21st, 2nd or something. It's a walled garden, so you can't jump from the Second Life to another world. But if you're on any of the grids or worlds, I should say, that run the Hypergrid, which is basically all of them, you can jump between them. Basically it extends it from one virtual world to a whole universe of virtual worlds, as it were. So we like to look at the arts and the people and the destinations, generally speaking, on the Hypergrid. And when we've got guests, they tend to fall into one of those brackets. Anyway, my name is Mal Burns. On my right-hand side, I've got the right-hand man, James Atlloud. He fiddles with knobs and sits down welding. So, in fact, he changes his sit frequently. So, welcome, James.
Thank you, Mal. It's great to be here.
And we are live on voice. Thank goodness, right. And on my other side, Tosha Tyran, my wonderful co-host. And hi, Tosha.
Hi, Mel. Thanks for having me.
Right. So both Tosha and I are, I won't say we're half asleep, but Tosha's in Spain, I'm in the UK, and we would not believe the temperature heat wave we've been having this week. In the UK, we have 5 days of government health warnings saying don't go, stay out of the heat. Don't know how it meant to do it, but it meant everyone was falling asleep after time. It's sort of at the moment you went out and popped to a shop or something, you come back drenched, not from the rain, but from the sweat and the heat. So not particularly pleasant. And it's not the same for you, isn't it, Tosha? Just sweltering.
Yeah, it's still very hot here, and a thunderstorm seems to be coming up. And I hope I will not be it will not interrupt my internet. So
right, yeah, hopefully.
All of a sudden I disappear. Don't blame me. Don't blame the weather.
What's happened? Yeah.
We're also having a lot of heat here in the Midwest of the United States, so it seems like a global phenomenon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called global warming. That's where it got its name. It is actually rather funny. The several reports.
I've read this afternoon in Sevilla, in the south of Spain, there were 45 degrees centigrade. So.
Right.
45 degrees centigrade is quite a bit of Fahrenheit.
That's far. I think it's worse than we had. I've got. I think we've got just over. We ended up over 90 Fahrenheit, but I got everything on screen set to Fahrenheit, which I'm used to from when all my life I've thought of how Fahrenheit. I never know what it is centigrade, but all I know is it's hot. And even people who are normally in denial say, I think this global warming thing might have some truth in it. What? A bit late. So, yeah.
Mel, I hate to ask you to do something else, but I wonder if you want to check your lips on your avatar?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they're working fine.
Okay, they're flapping rapidly.
Okay, well... spend more time on this show doing the production stuff than we do anything else.
Rapidly.
Noah was flapping around a lot. Maybe that so his lips move accordingly. So 45 degrees centigrade is 113 Fahrenheit. I just looked it up. That is quite a bit. It's quite a bit.
Yeah, we are just about 90 plus Fahrenheit.
Yeah. So it's not little.
Not devastating, but you still feel it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And of course, over here, don't know about Spain, but over here, air conditioning is not that usual. More so now in big private houses, but sort of.
No, but in Sevilla, I heard that all over the city. They have showers on the outside. They have, fountains that are open to the public, and then all these spray things that they just spray gusts of water, and gusts of water, and the people can get just a little wet or soaking wet as they please, because it's really 45 degrees centigrade really gets to the bones,
Yeah,
really
I think that is higher than human survival in the long term.
Yeah, on the
So,
long term.
awful. Yeah. Oh well.
If you're not very much accustomed, like the people that live in the Sahara, for example. But they at least have it cold at night in the Sahara.
Yes, that's true. It's been really muggy all night. One night got rather fair. In fact, I think it was probably fresher last night. But yeah, in a way, I hope we do get thunderstorms because they have a good habit of clearing the air. Sort of taking away the mugginess and it feels fresh again. But only after a good storm. So we'll see. But anyway, our apologies to viewers if we appear to be falling asleep, even if our avatars are a bit perky. I've got a motor mouse at the working at the moment. And I can't slow it down, even when I shut up. The mouse keeps blah, 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 blah. Very, very odd indeed.
Shall I zoom in on it closely? I'll just go in real close. There, look at that.
Yeah, well, my mouse doesn't seem to. Well, let's just say I can alter it a little bit and alter it a little bit, but
at least I could see that you have good teeth.
Yeah, right.
Yes, you haven't seen the real life one. Good. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it like that. It's a bit more subtle now, bit more subtle. But yeah, in fact, the only thing about me that is not tired at the moment was the mouth. Anyway, in the heat of the day, so to speak, we've been having endless audio problems yet again, not with what you're hearing now, which we do through Discord, but with the media player that is plugged into it all, that actually allows us to show you videos. And although I can play with video and you can hear the sound coming through my microphone, that really isn't good enough. And I'm afraid this week is actually one of those weeks when I had quite a few videos lined up, which I really won't show because you're not going to be able to hear the sound quality. And I'll show a few, but just for reference items. So I'm going to start. So I've got quite a go. Well, no, I'm going to start as we often do with Hypergrid Safari, which isn't in season at the moment, but Tosha has actually posted a blog yesterday. Which I always like to include the Safari blogs. This is about Redwood Bay, a relatively new region on the Netherworld grid, and it's home to Rocking the Seas Cruise, which was launched on May 4th. And these are the pictures she took. And would you believe it? I can't get the pictures. I can't see the thumbnails this time around either. This is not our day, is it? I've let me just, let's see. That's right, isn't it? It's like everything on my desktop has decided to be silly today. Well, let's try okay, I'll try that one. That works. Okay. So, basically, the blog includes an interview by the guy running it with Tosha and the OpenSim Coast Guard. Gosh. Don't want to drown in OpenSim waters there. Strange, mysterious things buried underneath most of them. Right, there we are, all dressed for the part. And that shows the size of it compared to, well, it's obviously anchored and in an area where they've built skyscrapers, but in the virtual world, you never really know what's to scale and what isn't. Onboard shopping, rolling wheel, like circus wheels, don't they? Everywhere Grid Airport. There we are. It looks like Golden Gate Bridge, doesn't it? Whether it is or not, I don't know. Or a model of it. And a bit of inner city, and that's it. That's all she published there, actually. So back to the blog itself. Basically, she's covering video feeds and various things that are all on the different levels of the ship. And then a little bit. Gundahar Bravin, that's the guy who's behind it. I think he's actually been on safari with us now and again. And talking of which, while I see it, I'll make sure we've got that link in case we ever need it. And yeah, there we go. So, right, moving on to another web page. Cafenio, as always, from Craft. I've just finished doing an interview with, is it Rosanna, I think, from there? Or is it Rosalita? There's too many names. It's not up yet anyway, and I still haven't sent her photographs, or maybe she's come and got some. But this is one I mentioned last week. Right? And there is meaning to this. Fiona Salmon here is the author of this, and just talking about various things. They started a thing called the Mad Tea Party, and it happens every Monday. And basically, it's every week a sim owner gets to work setting up environment, creating a poster, choosing day of time and date, and opening their doors to their little tea room, each meeting being unique with new guests, topics, and laughter. And talking of weeks, tomorrow, Monday, which will be, let me see, the 23rd, is the next one, so to speak. So just a day away. You can check the Craft World website and events, which I actually came up a bit weird for me this morning, but I've got the detail here anyway. It's I forgot to give James the URL, but basically it's a hop : Craft World, that's craft-world.org, colon 8002, and then the region is called, rather sensibly, Spaces and All, Dark Side of the Moon. I wonder where I heard that expression before. And the coordinates, well, it's actually 724/620/22, so it's at ground level. You'll find it fairly easy, and the reason I've added this right now, actually unannounced, is that it's going to provide a little segue into the first bit of video I do have. Well, 2 bits of video. The first thing I'm going to show, there is music with it, but
let me ask a question to that.
Oh, sure,
please.
yeah.
You said you were there last Monday, right? Did I understand that well?
No, I didn't get there last Monday.
Okay.
I have made a note of it for tomorrow, and it's
okay. Because I wanted to know if they talk in voices or if they talk in chat. Because if they talk in chat, then anybody could go and have it translated. But if they talk in voices and it's all Italian or mostly Italian, I see that very difficult.
Very good point. It's a known problem with Craft World, actually. I mean, it's not an Italian grid per se, but it does have a predominance of Italian people there, and Italian is spoken quite a lot.
And this very group, they are all Italians. The one of the Tea Party, and Dark Side of the Moon is a sim that belongs to Eva Cry. And she's Italian.
Yeah.
So there you go. That explains in great part the Italian.
The next one tomorrow is at 21:30 Euro time, which would be 8:30 p.m. in UK, and would be noon in Pacific time. And so basically log into Craft World and look for Dark Side of the Moon. But we'll have a little teaser of that. First, I've got a couple of things from Task World first off. Quite short, especially this next one, given I haven't got sound. You will hear a bit of sound coming through my speaker, but this is photos by Fiona Salmon, who's actually the author of this article. It's sort of it's a segue, so to speak, and this was part of an exhibit she did. So just have a quick look at that, because they've got the nice pictures. And I'll talk over it, as I said, because I'm not really playing the sound. But it reminds me of some cartoon art, actually. This obviously is there in World being exhibited, so quite nice. You go to MDM and bar in various places in Craft, and this is a style of art that you see quite a lot of, I think. But this was just a short video of some of hers.
Nice work, Fiona, I would say.
Yeah. She's done a very good job there. And the usual parade, as it were, there. Yeah, some of it is quite different, actually. So. The end. So short and sweet, without the music. But never mind.
Short and sweet.
Something else. Just will have to wait to another thing. But that Velázquez Bonetto did a concert at the Oak Bar where the Tragic Worlds thing been going on. It was back on Thursday, June the 11th, but they finally posted a video of it, and we aren't going to play this because we can't listen to it, unfortunately. But as you can see, it's actually a concert event that takes place at the Terror, the Unquiet World exhibit. I mean, there've been lots of we've already shown you a lot of film at the exhibit and people going there, but this is an interactive party went on over the whole area rather than just the current thing where they have been doing. I think it's 3 artists a week to focus on. Anyway, it's lovely music, but you can't hear it, so you get the idea. It's really just a nice, entertaining piece with music and everything else. We will bring this to you another week, but I'll give you've got a silent movie preview of it there while we wait, so to speak. Right. Tootsie well, we leave that for another week. We already had that on last week, some of it on last week. Okay. Moving also into this, because of the convenience, what video I'm showing this week is largely going to be to do with Craft World. I will come back to it in a minute then. So, but as you know, I like to do every week at least one new region I've found, so to speak, to focus on. Now, this is not a particularly new region, but Tosha, you mentioned it earlier. Is it Cry? Is that how I pronounce it?
Eva Cry. Mm-hmm.
Eva Cry, yeah. This is actually her region, and when she was advertising the Tea Party, as it were, being on her sim tomorrow, I immediately thought, well, I don't think I've ever been there to film, so I'll go along to film. So I actually have some genuinely silent film here that I actually filmed earlier. This is a long shot of her region. It's actually called Dark Side of the Moon. And we're moving in here. Statue of Liberty, interesting. That's certainly not Italian, but there we go. Basically, when I landed from the map, as you can see, that's where I landed. And I will point out to you as we go along the actual bit where I gather the tea party is happening tomorrow. You can see she's already decorated it. But meanwhile, I thought I'd have a look around here and sort of various statues and things here. I can see both. You guys feel free to comment, by the way, as you see fit. Quite a simple build, actually, just a bit of terraforming and separating areas from each other, but a lot of little sort of very sweet bits to it in its simplicity. Yeah, every time you approach that, it's from the side, and forgetting it's a sort of cafe bar erected on, I don't know what you call stills to stop it drowning, I suppose. Ever's one of these people who's frequently on the safari trips too. Does a lot of stuff. Quite a bit of his personal touches here. I've snooped inside the open doors, put it that way. I didn't go into the closed doors. Don't think I did anyway. I'm not quite sure with the appearance of that, whether it's meant to be a snow build in the works or something.
Looks like it wasn't quite finished yet.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's got a texture, but exactly what, I don't know.
And
And here we
actually,
are.
if I remember well, this region, I used to be there
This,
quite a
by the
few
way, is the
times.
room.
Yeah.
So just I'll pause. I was just going to say, well, I've got the camera there. This is the region where it's the tea party happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
So in this gazebo, as it were. So just
Well,
so
I think Eva always had the concept of the dark side of the moon, not to make one whole region, to make it all beautiful and all that you can go and explore and do things, but rather she just added a few things, but she made it just different points for people to make. That was the way before, and now I can see that she has the tea party there, and the other things just serve as overall decorations, I think.
Yes, how's that feeling of us?
Yeah,
Of somebody's region where
she always had that concept with her dark side of the moon.
yeah, it's a very pretty region as well. I mean, to be honest, if you were visiting, you wander around and see everything pretty quick, I think. Oh yes, these are I think I forget whether I got that photo gallery working or not. I don't. Might have where you see some pictures and stuff. This building here, I think, is probably her home, as it were. It's something more elaborate of the buildings. Nice house as well, architecturally. Oh, and she's even got a little plaque from Edu3D because she's part of that education group as well. Right, quite attractive.
You snuck into her bedroom.
Well, cameras go through walls, don't they? No. I didn't go and I didn't check for post balls or anything like that.
Get out of there.
There's curious mini mountains there. Oh, I couldn't figure out what's happening on the lighthouse. I suddenly noticed top of that.
That's funny.
It's a piece of art on top of the lighthouse or something.
That's funny. Well, Eva Cry is one of the very engaged and active people of craft.
Yeah.
And that already, I think, almost from the beginning of craft on, she was always very active and doing very many things. She has learned a lot in the meantime also, and she is a very smart, very intelligent woman. And I like her very much. She's really interesting.
I did drop her a line in Discord earlier to see it, but I don't think she's got it yet. I don't think she speaks English though, anyway. So
she doesn't.
She does.
No, she doesn't.
No, it doesn't, right? Yeah, so really be able to get her on the show. So yeah, strange contrast here: medieval and a crashed airplane. Yeah. It looks like a crashed airplane, and people have opened it. It's like I forget the name of the TV show where there's an airline crash, and they sort of turn the wreckage of the plane into their home for the duration. And I do recognise it. There's a very famous photo that was online years ago. Sort of I always jokingly called it Stonehenge on Sea because it was. I think it's the early days of Photoshop, and somebody had taken a picture, a good one, of Stonehenge, and planted on a fictional, bit of what they thought was whoever did it did not realise Stonehenge is not by the sea. So Stonehenge on Sea was born. One had to keep telling people that didn't know it that no, it's not on the coast; it's inland. Oh, right. Okay, this is actually we covered this last week. But this is another short tribute. Actually, this is only 1 minute, so might as well look. Which is here for a second. Looks like it's been speeded up, but that's not me. That's that's the speed it's playing at. But another example of somebody very good cinema. I suppose you could call that a high-speed show reel, couldn't you? All right. Really does need sound to do. I really find with real world videos like chat shows and things, I can often stare at a TV screen and just listen to music and get a lot from people's facial expressions and things. But it's one thing that doesn't work in a virtual world. There's just not enough of the genuine expression to pick up that way. Right. Okay. Going back to the other bit I filmed this week. On Friday, there's this in-between event, which yesterday was in Second Life, and today is actually on a platform called Spatial. I looked at the Spatial one in advance, which is more like, it's like a very static scene where you move your mouse around to pan around. Well, I couldn't see what they could best there. I presume the one in Second Life was pretty similar to the one in Craft. They would have been, lab-wise, they would have been competed with the Second Life birthday, I think. But also, I went in. They did publish their own film of this a bit later. I muted this because they're actually talking in Italian, and there's nothing I could actually do about that. But I'm giving it basically four of them, including some guests, a couple of art professors and things, were they're talking. It was all in Italian. I don't know where the video version that's on YouTube will get a translation, the subtitles eventually. I don't know. It hasn't yet, anyway, because I downloaded it. So this gets a bit boring when you, well, even if you can hear it, it's probably only useful if you speak Italian. So I'm moving through it a little bit here and just scanning to where I went to the various screens that are on show here. Some of these are a bit tricky because they, well, in World, they were fine because there are lots of individual screens there, but there was a lot of sort of collision. For example, one of the screens showed a web page, and you read the web page, but inside the web page was a video, and the video, well, it didn't like playing within another media on the prim. It's like doubling up. I don't know, but this was the idea anyway. So there was a lot of talk, about art and not specific. Well, the pictures here and the media on the prim that were on display were sort of prompts really for the person talking. And I checked out these YouTube links at a later point. Just moving on a bit. There's a few bits of art lying around anyway. So, of course, neither of you guys were there, of course, so you can't help me with what was said. It's a shame. I did pick up on a bit of it because I had a translator on, and insofar as the text was concerned, somebody was actually typing, probably for my benefit, a kind of summary of what was being said while I was filming. But it was sort of, it was kind of art talks that I was, I don't know, it was Rosanna, I think her name was, whoever it was. It
seems like a weather forecast.
It didn't translate well for me anyway. I was sort of trying to understand what it was saying, whether it's a translation or just the fact that it was academic kind of talk about art. And I'm assuming that they made a build that was pretty much the same in Second Life, or the Saturday so-called performance. Looks like that piece of film has gone to a standstill anyway. So that I got a little brief glimpse of what was going on there. Valesquez Benetto did a concert at the Ilbar Build, of course. Did I cover that earlier? Or was it before we came on, or just now? Which I will reserve for a day when we can get the full glory of the sound, basically. As a couple more tributes to Tutsi we'll do later too. Okay, one thing we did sort of wreck on I've got a film here, which is well, do you want to give me a translation of that?
Oh yeah, well, I don't give you a translation. I'd rather give you something that Fiona Simon, who was really inside the organization, she talked about this, and I've translated that, and it says this video.
Hang on, Tosha.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was just translation of the title was what I meant there. I think it's something of
Toscana School of Education.
Right.
Or
okay.
Education, but education in el what do you call it? Digital education. Let's say.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Online or digital. Yeah.
The metaverse. This is this is a word that is composed of education and metaverse. The
Ediverse, I guess is right. Well, there's a lot of introduction to this anyway, but I thought it's a good picture of what's around in craft. Again, there's no real point in having the audio on for this, but I thought if we just run it as a pictorial, and then Tosha's going to add some information as we look at it.
Well, so, I can tell you what Fiona Simon says about this region. And before anything else, these are purely school regions. Nobody can go there.
Yeah.
Okay. You can only see that. And it says, she said about it, this video showcases the impressive planning, construction, and collaborative effort behind a project that was conceived and developed within the idea of a network, both in the real world and in the 3D digital world, and in connection with each other. Immersive experiences and learning in the school encourages a conscious commitment to speak common languages through intergenerational dialogue. Woof, she talks complicated.
Yeah, they do.
Craft World has a long history on this field with its sim-based schools. This project represents both its crowning achievement and the starting point for new experiences. That was it. That's what
right. Okay.
Fiona said.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, there's a lot. I forgot what the sign said a minute ago, this particular region, but the film here is actually covering quite a lot more.
Well, those are special buildings, very well-known buildings of this region of
Spain.
What was it called? The region?
Spain?
No, in Italy, that Toscana. The Toscana region.
Right? Okay, I should remember from the first shot.
And they are special and well-known buildings from there, and they're being put together like a this harbor and then these towers and quite a few other regions too, and being put together like making one big town.
This is the next one.
It's really quite something to see.
Yes, I mean, just looking at it on film is.
It could be something for a safari too, if I could ever get anyone to open this region for one day.
Yes, so we've been to a couple of safaris that were in regions that were open especially for us. In fact, it's always nice if these lockdown areas have a kind of open day now and again, especially for education ones.
But this is really very realistic and being built by some of the really, really good builders of the craft region.
It's a bit like looking at the video travel brochure, isn't it? It's very detailed. Porto Azzurro. I suppose they begin to look samey after a while, but so all these exist together, do they, or are they separate regions sort of joined together? You know, if you go in.
I think they're rather separate regions joined a little bit together to make one, overseeable region out of it altogether.
Because you have been into some of these education regions yourself, you've been invited in, haven't you, on occasion?
Yes, I'm an assistant. I can go there anytime I want to.
Oh,
whereas this region, I don't even know where exactly it is.
Well, you can only count so many. Are these boating regions too? I mean, there are a lot of boats there. Do they have the kids?
Oh, that I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. I only know that they're supposed to be for, school kids and them make classes there, whatever.
This looks a bit more less built up. Nice. That's nice.
Well, I don't know if you guys know the Toscana region is really very, very beautiful, and with a lot of culture and a lot of artworks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I hear a lot of references to that. So
yes.
Yeah. I've never been there though.
Or you've missed something.
I believe it.
And a bit of sea. Oh, that one. Viareggio.
Viareggio, that I think is a town.
Made me think of VAR region.
Oh, probably. You see that they have the posters of references where you can read about the region and also about different things about it. But why this is all about different harbors, I don't know. The video.
Yeah, so much detail that you're building. Oh, Lucca now, of course. They used to have an animation festival there. Well, maybe they still did. It used to be one of the big, highlights of the year for animators. It's a separate topic completely, but it's triggered by this. There's Second Life has a blog. It's not long to Second Life, but it's the SL Hotel Inspector, and it's quite a good little blog for posting pictures from rather, sort of interesting.
If I may interrupt you,
sorry.
Was made by me.
Oh, you had to interrupt. Lovely.
The villa. This villa is a very prominent villa.
Yeah, I see it.
With a very long history.
Aye. Oh, I love those double staircase entrances. Love those.
Oh, and I tell you, it drove me nuts building it. So many swear words I almost never used when I built something.
And I know I noticed you got a nice working clock above the entrance there too. I think it was working. It looked like it was
when
moving.
you get inside, look at all these furniture and all these baroque things,
lovely.
and find the right pictures. That they're all original pictures of the villa too, and it's more or less original as it is. Well, I cheated a little bit because the setup was so complicated that you could not build that really, or I could not. So.
Also with scale and things, if you do a build, don't you, sometimes in OpenSim and you scale it so the avatar can walk around it and stuff. But it doesn't resemble real world scaling. I mean, avatars
well, yes, that is
smaller,
true,
and you can't maneuver them through tight spaces. So you have to take a few liberties. Don't you?
Well, and then what happened is that in those times when the villa was built, the rooms were so small, you can just forget it. It would be could not build a building so big. And this is a build that Eva Cry made.
Oh, so we're tying in quite nicely here, aren't we? As well, right? You see, it's so good. They all sort of. I know that bills, but they all blend together rather well, because each build, I guess, is kept to the theme of the locations. So
yes, that was the idea. That was the idea. This is made by, I don't know. I think in cooperation with quite a few schools in the Toscana, and they said what they wanted, and then Lico asked different builders of craft if they could do something like that.
Yeah.
So that's how it came all about. And we built all these things on a quite a different grid. Each one had a certain place to build, a space.
Right.
And then it was transported to this here grid, different ones, and put together again.
So they like did the creation, then saved an OAR file, and the OAR file was brought into the big grid. Yeah. Oh, lovely.
Well, and Livorno is a pretty well-known city. The others probably too, but Livorno is one that I know anyways. The other places I don't know. So the kids can practically walk through there and learn about the history of the place, and with their teachers discuss this and that and I don't know what, with all these posters put up there everywhere. So I thought it was a really good idea to do that way.
It is. It's wonderful. I mean, obviously it is for educational purposes, but in a way, it's a shame there isn't a replica general public to find out. Same sort of thing. La Formation. Oh, I see avatars now. What's it mean? The formation or something?
Yeah, they had an informational opening for all kinds of teachers and builders and like that.
Right. Oh, so this is very much the introductory sort of event kind of thing.
Yeah. And what is where and how can you find it and how was it built and all these kind of things.
I see they've taken the miniature and blown it out to show people constructing a prim. Oh gosh, golly! I think I've heard of that thing.
And then this is, how to create a prim and all these different things about building. They come in here too, So they probably, practically the kids and also some teachers learn how to build, and then they can see what can be done with it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And
actually, I think it's rather depressing if you start building and you barely know how to make a cube, and then you see a huge building with,
Suddenly,
near to perfect.
it's trial and error, isn't it? I mean, I knew how to use a cube fairly early on, but I could never figure out how to change it. I could make it into a rectangular cube or a square.
Yeah, yeah,
But the mangling and cutting holes in and that sort of stuff. But
yeah.
it's amazing because in the early days of Second Life and OpenSim to a certain extent, everything really had to be the prim. And it's actually remarkable. I think Philip was asked once if I think it was Doozer asked him if he was inspired by Lego. It's they're very simplistic sort of thing, the square prim and the circular prims and everything. But what people often forget is that they actually a cube is not just 8 sides. Hang on, 4, 5, 6 sides. It's actually several hundred vertices because everything that makes up a prim is a miniature triangle that you don't really ever get to see. But it means it's taken what basically is a principle of mesh and made them into very simple parts, which has certainly given a lot of people, like we're seeing here, who've come into Second Life or OpenSim and sort of seen what they can do with prims. It's given them a start. And then later on, maybe they move into altering in mesh and things like that. But it's certainly democratized the idea of building for people. Because it looks simpler than it is, but it is still, still basic. So yeah, so how to do thing. There's a little bit more sightseeing, as it were, here. That's not you, is it? It's a different face. Something from split second I saw that hair and
No.
Yeah, of course we saw an underwater bit for real at the video. There we are, and yeah, and then it's followed up with the credits. So yeah, I thought that was that's nice. I'm glad we're able to show that with a bit of information behind it from you. So. Yeah, something I was sort of just on the verge of talking about there. It was certainly anecdotal because there's a Second Life blog which has no place here. Second Life Hotel Inspector, but it's a good blog to find out interesting kind of picturesque builds to get to. And I knew this happened, but for the first time, I saved this blog to my feed at Tumblr, which is Second Life stuff, and I read it and I suddenly realized that, people talk there's a lot of money to be made in Second Life and sharing and, whatever. And apparently the record profit figures for Second Life businesses, independent of Linden Labs, are actually pretty high at the moment. But I suddenly realized I was looking at this blog, like showing one of Furz's blogs with the interesting pictures. And then I realized it was saying, well, it costs you 3,000 lindens per night to stay in one of these rooms. And it goes up, to 5,000, a bigger room, just like the real world, where you go to a luxury hotel and you, depending on how much money you've got, West Lindens. But it's an interesting thing because, charging people who build and then have their land and they put houses down and charge rent and things, that's one thing. But when you're renting by the night a hotel room, it just transposes it into like a parallel to the real world, You except that, in the real world, you have to get a plane away rather than teleport back home. But the idea, I just wondered how many people would actually already be in Second Life and choose to, spend a couple of thousand.
I really can't imagine that. Anyways, I think the time of big money making in Second Life is past. It's really way back when, maybe, when they started with sullen properties and everything. There you had some people that were very very keen on that. They bought up all that. There was this well-known, I don't know, Chinese or from Hong Kong, something like that, woman that bought up a lot of
Yes.
property and then sold it again afterwards. And she really must have made
I thought
a
I was trying to
million.
remember her name, but I know the one you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what.
Oh yeah,
And
Andrew Chung or something. Yeah.
yeah, and she really made herself a millionaire in Second Life. But that and the beginning of selling things, like selling animation, selling clothes, and avatars and all that. I think that time is just past. It doesn't really. There is no big money making anymore. I know a few people from Second Life that had made some money or made a living of it, really, and they just all gave up because they said cannot live from it anymore because, once it's out of their hands, it can be copy botted, and it's been done. It's very difficult that you can do something about it and all that. And they say it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing, about the the pioneers, went in and just
Yeah,
did things, and then
yeah,
the
yeah,
business has moved in. But now they're old hat, and it's sort of
and that's why I'm really, really very glad that OpenSim is not all, but mostly free for
yeah,
people. You pay very low rent for a property, and the things that you build, most people offer them to everybody else, and like that. So I think it's good, but nobody can get rich on the shoulders of others. So I kind of prefer that.
I'm flicking through a video here, and it's 40 minutes, so there's no way to play it here. But I thought it would be of interest. I've downloaded it so I can use it again if I need to. But the video is actually called "Not Everything in OpenSim is as Free as It Looks." This is it's kind of interesting because it's really about the economy in OpenSim, and I think that it's a particular kind of thing. She's just pointing out where the costs are involved, sort of in various aspects of OpenSim. But it's a nice little feature. When we got 40 minutes, sometime might be worth showing it. It's she well, it's just somebody doing her personal rant, but it comes across nicely, well filmed, and voice and everything else. So if you can't wait to see that, you can probably find it on YouTube by going, "Not everything in OpenSim is as free as it looks." But it's quite interesting. Yeah, I actually wondered if this is actually a Second Lifer who's just checking out OpenSim, but they've done a pretty thorough
Of
job.
course, there are grids that do charge. They have an economy on their own grid, and they sell things. And I think Kitely is one of them, no? That at least it was so some time ago. And you cannot just give away things and take things with you and like that. But the difference still is, I think the biggest cost in Second Life is the property. And if I remember, like when I was in Second Life, and Lumiere Noir had a couple of regions, not wholesomes. He had one was a wholesome that he had rented. He paid $300 for it, month after month. 300. And in OpenSim for the same region, you pay maybe, I don't know, 50 if it's many, and then you have a lot more prims and a lot more freedom to build and everything. So it's quite a difference still.
It's actually that's really where Linden Lab make the money is property. To them it's server space, but they've always been able to charge you, based on the fact it's a virtual world and it's got all this stuff. It takes a lot of server space, much more than just a website, and they charge appropriately. But when I say appropriately, it's never gone down. It's free users actually have it quite well, but when you're actually a paid resident, you're paying for perks, but also you get a sort of stipend in Linden money and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's the willingness of people to cough up so much a month to have a 3D web page on their servers. And one of the things that they always held on very tightly in the old days, I remember when they started the Second Life Enterprise business, and I met them over here. They're actually selling Blade servers, with Second Life pre-installed, because they wanted to keep it under their own auspices. Even when they did the Hypergrid hopping for a while, it was sort of, if you want this quality of virtual world and you want our setup, you're going to have to buy a Blade server offers, because we're not going to give you software that you can run by yourself and choose. Obviously they did offer, it's just a service to business, but that's where their money lay. And when that enterprise didn't take off, they didn't try and find another way of doing it. They just thought, well, not compelling enough for the enterprise. And that is one of the other reasons OpenSim began, in some ways, sort of companies like IBM. I was actually, when I was talking to what's her name from the Cafino blog, I was telling her that I think it was Wumblind and a few others. I can't remember where Pathfinder was involved, but we did the initial teleporting out of Second Life into OpenSim, because what happened at IBM had actually put up an OpenSim, effectively an OpenSim server, very primitive. And we actually jumped from Second Life into IBM's OpenSim server. Now, when we arrived, our inventory suddenly didn't exist. We had no assets or lindens, of course, but it did make the jump, basically. The way we hyperjump now, it's an early version of that, which actually took our Second Life avatar. Even the appearance of our avatar didn't look the same, but it was the same name, the same avatar, if you see what I mean. And also, it's very awkward to jump back into Second Life for some very strange reason. But that was the beginning, of what became OpenSim. But I mean, the reason Linden would never have followed through with it back in those days, especially, was that down the road they would probably see it as potential competition for their bottom line. Who knows, really?
No, but that is true, and what I think is also was noticeable, because when I was still in Second Life, that's when the mesh started, and also the mesh closing and everything. But it was so outrageously expensive, and most of the people couldn't make the clothes themselves. They had to buy them, or else they had the system clothes. And then you could see the difference, let's say, practically on the street, the rich and the poor. The rich had mesh clothes, and the poor had the system clothes. And so it was with all kinds of things, also buildings and everything. That has changed a little bit, because some of the prim buildings are just fantastic, But there was a time when you could see right away, here lives the rich kid, here lives the poor neighbor. And I did not really like that at all.
No, I mean, it's a shame, because it's really, really the Americanness of that as well. It's very reflective of the world sort of polarization. I mean, not quite as polarizing as in the real world, but the sort of if something online costs a certain amount of money, then in the real world it's a certain kind of person that can afford it. So, and if something could be done for cheap online, then the people that do it for cheap, it's the giveaway. I mean, it is an equalizer in some ways. You can walk up to an avatar and you don't know who they are. You don't even know what sex they are sometimes, despite their appearance. But you get to know somebody, and the differences show. And as you say, it's got flashing mesh clothes because they weren't bothered about the cost, and others in sort of in their rags, system clothing. It's
as I understand it, the giveaway mesh things. Okay, the some of them or many of them give away clothes and things are rather beautiful also now in Second Life.
Mm.
But there was this period that was so clear, some could afford it to get all kinds of luxury, so to speak, and the others could not, and they were just looking simple, And with some things, it is still the same. And that, I think, is not half as much noticeable in OpenSim, because you can have freebies and giveaways that are just as great and beautiful as the sold things.
Yeah, there's probably no such thing as an exclusively item. It's like a pay market, these things slip out. But you're right. I mean, I think I think it is the case in OpenSim too, when some grids give you system avatars for free, obviously when you sign up, but others often really flash grids, and Linden do that now too. If you're a newly startup, even if it's a free account, you get a good avatar. But people still, after a while, think, "Oh, I know that avatar. It's one of the Linden freebies." Even though it's great, they still,
well,
they still
but
think it.
And the other thing that I was not very much in favor of was that when Linden started and put it up into its policies, that everything that was made and built and created on Second Life was property of Linden Lab. You practically were forbidden to export your own stuff into OpenSim, your very own stuff. You had to do it via some other programs, which were half illegal to do that, but it all stayed. And furthermore, they said that not only was the property of it, but they could use it for advertising, for all kinds of things that they do within Linden, And I
Actually,
thought,
that's
what the heck, And in OpenSim, whatever you create is yours.
Yeah. Although it's also open in the sense, the people can use your content to help advertise the grid, which is fine. I mean, the thing.
Well, you can give away your contents, your own contents, but you cannot, for example, in Craft, whatever I create, Liku, the owner of Craft, cannot come and say, well, it's all mine now.
Oh no, sure, yeah. It's just I remember from working with artists many years ago and stuff. You would sign a contract giving a publisher, say, first reproduction rights or whatever. And it would be very specific what they were getting. But there was always a clause from the publisher underneath saying the publisher may use extracts from this work for their own promotion, and that's actually quite normal. They don't actually claim to own it. They only own the rights they're buying at a given time, but they will have a little clause saying we can also use it for our own purposes to advertise, our services.
If you in real life you work for a newspaper, for example, then everything you write is property of the newspaper. That is just an example now, but of course you get paid for writing it, while as when you are in Second Life, nobody pays you for creating something. Linden Lab doesn't pay you a monthly salary for creating clothes or creating houses or doing terraforming, but they claim it all within their properties. That seems to me
I don't think they ran that home too much now, but because it's in their world, you can't really get it out to do anything else with it. So it's whether they're fussy about that or not is not really important, because it's the fact you can't get anything out of there.
Well,
but
with all due respect to me, that seems sort of like a robbery.
Yeah. Well, basically, if you work for somebody, if you're an employee, then they, as an artist, for example, then they own the copyright in your work. But if you are a freelancer working for hire, then you own your own copyright, and all the publisher can do is
if you are employed somewhere, that's what I say. You get a salary paid,
Yeah.
And then quite all right. If Linden Lab would pay me, I don't know, €1,000 a month, I would come there and build one house after the other, and they can keep it forever.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it does reiterate just how the two, maybe sort of cousins of a sort, but how different the two worlds are in so many ways. This woman certainly got about. I'll give that for. You can probably tell from the way I'm flipping through this. It's worthy of a look and a listen for that matter. So it won't be today anyway. Right. Well, I'm just looking at what I got here. I think I've still got a load of stuff that I thought I was going to be using today, but I won't be because it involves sound as well as pictures. So we did. Yep. We covered the Tea Party tomorrow, didn't we? So far as seeing that, yeah, I think we've run out for this week. I'm just checking my notepad here. Just a reminder, if you want to go to this chat thing tomorrow, the URL I've got here is hop://craft-world.org:8002 and then /dark /side or the moon /724 /620 /22. You can, by the way, if you're watching this in the next 24 hours, just put it on pause and then just go back a minute, and then you can get me to repeat it to you. So you down. Clever, clever idea that is. Okay. So, closing thoughts, James. Let's hand over to you because you haven't said much. Anything come to mind triggered by what we've been watching, what little has been, and stuff?
Yeah, the only thing I thought of was when we were talking about things for sale, not for sale ownership. Isn't the patronage model a concept that, it's still somewhat active, and I was just curious if either of you think being a patron of an artist is superior to being an artist that sells things.
Oh.
The work is paid for when it's created, not when it's sold.
Yeah, one artist, a comic artist, Brian Talbot. You know of him through me, James. There's a period when he was developing a long-running serial where a former publisher who'd given up publishing actually became his patron. So the patron actually literally coughed up the money for the whole middle section of this long story, and enabled it to be published. The patron provided more money than any publisher ever would have done at the time, if you see what I mean, for something with minority interest, or where it was a minority then. So I think there is that, and I know Tosha follows him too, JJ from the University of Western Australia, who we were talking about in relation to the films of Tutsis we showed last week. They were very much, taking the university there, and JJ were taking the patron attitude. Don't know where they ever got. I said, well, obviously they did do grants and things in terms of Linden money. So the principle was the same thing. In order to get this done, we will patronize it. And it's a bit like sponsorship, we'll have a little sign saying, sponsored by. And hopefully that's enough payback for their investment, that little bit adds. But it's, there are people around, who are benefactors and things, aren't there? They've got enough money that they just want to put their name on things to sponsor them. And I think that's perfectly valid. It's sort of, it means often that things can be public, when, it would otherwise have cost a lot of money, and the person paying for it will probably have taken ownership for it. Like you do a portrait for somebody, and where they pay you in advance or whether they pay you on delivery is a bit immaterial because they're going to own it. But if it's commissioned, not for ownership, but actually, sponsored as a patron, then you're making sure work gets made. You may order a print of it when it's done, etc., or get a free print of it or whatever. But the structure there, I mean, it's still the market capitalism of a sort, but it is it's different. Even sculptors and things, not in virtual worlds, but and some artists, big companies pay them. They're opening up a new headquarters in the city or something, and they want to decorate their reception with art. So they commission, art that they can then put up, as to enhance the environment of their reception area or something like that. Whether they put it up and return it to the artist years later, or whether they actually own it, I don't know. But it's in recent years, particularly, it's become a sort of fairly bit of a, not a default, but commissioning has become a real asset to the arts industry, because stuff is created now that probably wouldn't get created if there weren't people commissioning it for commercial, not because they've got a private gallery, but simply they want to put it in their work show space or something. And when you go to see exhibitions, they're very often, got sort of a Shell Oil presents eco pictures. There's contradictions, if there ever were ones. But yeah, it's sort of, art, I don't think would survive the era if it wasn't, people backing it. I mean, some people do it for the love of it, and it pays off at the end of the day, because when it's all finished, they do get a return on it. But it's certainly a lot of good creative things have been done with, like Second Life Endowment for the Arts. They provide that space for free. I don't know how it's administered now, but but it's a subcategory within their own economy anyway. It's sort of if I see something at SLEA I like, especially a video of an exhibition, I download it and whatever, because I want it. But it's a bit sad that I can maybe show it on a TV show, but I can't actually recommend it as a place you can just wander into, because you can't get into it unless you've got a Second Life account and whatever, So I suppose with OpenSim, you still got downloaded viewer, but that's about it. Anyway,
I have a rather clear view on that, and I think there is a difference between real life and Second Life or OpenSim, and that is that everything you do in the virtual world, you do for the love of it. That's my opinion. I know that people gaining money on that, and depending on what kind of technical things they do may be a different matter. But the things that the normal user does and builds and creates, he does not. Well, I don't, let's speak about me. I don't do that for making money. I do that for the love of building, for the love of showing people, for the love of giving it away. And I think that is, for me, it is the better way, because it is the way I could see also it would be much better if also in real life the world would be like that, people giving away the things that they make instead of selling them, instead of making money on the back of others, and so, and also it gives me a huge pleasure when I go about OpenSim someplace, and all of a sudden I see, there's something that I made some years ago or some months ago.
Yes.
And
like the film we watched just now. I did that.
And that is really, it is such great pleasure for me, much more than that money that I could get for it.
There was another rather scathing Second Life blog, not completely unrelated to that one, which is more OpenSim, which was really moaning at that. They were actually saying that when it went into Linden Labs originally, they like making clothing and opening a little shop for themselves and everything. But so we never, we made virtual money like game money, but it was all fun. We never made enough money to live on. And they're saying now you can't even get into that market. There's so much competition. You know, everybody is seriously in it to make money. Very few people necessarily do, but they're fighting and working the ecosystem because they're greedy. They want the money. Whereas they're saying that that ecosystem only existed because in the early days of Second Life, we loved doing it and we created it. It's like playing Monopoly. You've got a stack of money, but it's not real money. It's just the fun of the game. So I don't know. Who knows? And of course, Linden's not particularly proud of their economy, but
and then you have perhaps this huge animal Linden lab above you that even those small little pleasures that you have that gobbles them all up and takes them for himself. You know, I think that is really not. It's not a really nice way.
I've noticed it's a long time since I've spoken to anybody who's a newbie in Second Life. Occasionally I come across a newbie in OpenSim, but you know, back when I was in Second Life more, I would come across somebody somewhere, you know, so that I've just joined, tell me about this, that, and the other, you know. And it was like an open, free world. You really felt, you know, God, this is sort of a big adventure. But I haven't spoken to anybody who's new in Second Life of late who exhibits that sense of, you know, wonder about the possibilities.
But do you remember when Philip Rosedale was there in the discussion with you? And he came to a point where he acted as if all the people, the residents of Second Life, really making a good living of Second Life. You know, and that I thought I listened to that and I thought, what the hell is he talking about? You know,
I think he's very proud of the economic system, that the basis of it. But it's a different. It's funny. I have another clip here. James will know. I used to run a blog, you know, on my news program, highlight every week called "The Scarred Ghost," and we even have this ghost sound that James will let off when I mentioned it. And I got a video here for this week. Philip spent 10 minutes with the Scarred Ghost. That was an interesting conversation. I almost played it now because it was a little bit at the end, but I can't. You know, it's 10 minutes. I can't find the individual bit right now. But I mean, given the he talks best when he's going off on tangents about other worlds and principles of the future and things. I mean, the Linden economy is kind of unfortunate, a bit sort of set in stone, you know, but it is a kind of microcosm. That one thing he mentions our ghost is the idea that living in dangerous times and stuff, some of us really don't want the Facebooks and things of the world, but we do like small, you know, inclusive environments, like what he quotes Second Life, of course. I would quote OpenSim, where you can go and you're as free as you want. Nobody's particularly bothered. And until OpenSim has like 3 million people logging in every day, nobody's going to take it seriously, you know. And I remember a few years ago, you know, I think it was some program in America sent a reporter into Second Life as a spy, you know, to be in there for a certain amount of time. And then somebody said, oh, the government already do this, you know. But you never heard much of it because, you know, maybe 12 avatars scattered all over the world have a little meeting in World to discuss something subversive, but no, who cares? You know, it's not like there's thousands of people congregating under the radar that are threatening establishments or something. So, I mean, there are swings and roundabouts to being a small corner of the online world, and OpenSim, of course, in terms of land, is bigger than Second Life, but in terms of people, it's a fraction. So it's a really small corner of web or the internet. But all that is a long discussion. We should have a special on that.
It is a long discussion. Well, anyways, I'm glad I'm in OpenSim and
Oh yeah, for sure. So
act in the
my
way that we can all act in OpenSim. And I'm also glad that I'm in craft with Liku Rao being a really great owner of the grid.
every morning, well, almost every morning, I load up a text client, Radagast, and I log it into Second Life to check on messages. And then as soon as I got the messages, quick scan of anybody line I know that I want to talk to, and then I quit. And then I launch Firestorm, and it just runs OpenSim all day. There's no hesitation. And no, I never have the temptation to run the 3D client and jump into Second Life unless there's.
Oh no, I don't either.
I mean, I'm going to go in on Wednesday because Philip's giving the birthday talk. But I mean, apart from that, I haven't been there for months. Although it said, as I say, I'll go in the text client just to get messages, but most of them I don't want. They're group messages. Oh, come to our dance in somewhere or somewhere. Or come and see our, school do this or whatever. It's yeah.
Well, guys, I think I have to.
We all do. Yes, I think it's been quite, I think we're in a shorter show than usual because of delays. Hopefully, folks, we will be able to get back into full stereo gear with perfect sound again next week. It seems to be a toss of the coin every week now, whether we're getting proper sound for the video channel or whether we're not. And who knows? But I even have this set up on two machines so I can test one against the other, and it all works perfectly when I'm testing it. And then we go live and oops. Anyway, so I think that's it. So that's it for you, Tosha and James. Any quick things?
Nope, I'm good.
Not for me. I can't even think anymore.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's sleepy time again. It's I closed the windows, so I haven't got the breeze anymore. It's still hot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I shall round up the show. I shall wish everybody a very good morning, a very good afternoon, a very good evening, and a good tomorrow, depending on wherever and whenever you are. And for now, it's a wrap, and bye-bye.